Hi guys, I'm so excited to finally be able to show you what I've been working on for the past few weeks. So, ARRTX asked me via email if I was interested in a collab for a video with them, and I said yes, of course I am. They offered to send me one of their products, a set of 48 acrylic markers, so that I could use it as I pleased and then make a video with my opinions about the product. I'm not gonna lie, but at first I was a bit scared because I've never used before acrylic markers and my style is quite different. I usually draw things like these, so I'm very far from acrylic markers, but it's a nice challenge. But ARRTX didn't put any limits on me, total creative freedom, and so in this video we'll show you what I have created with these 48 acrylic markers. And so stay with me for the entire duration of the video to see everything I have created with them and also finally hear my opinions about the product. So a big thanks to ARRTX that sent me this product, and without further ado, let's start with the video, let's start with the unboxing. Okay, here we are guys. The package seems to be in excellent condition, there doesn't seem to be any damage. I have to say that this box is very cool and solid. Now we come to the most important part, the markers. Ooh, here they are. Wow, this set looks really gorgeous. I love the choice of colors and honestly I can't wait to use all these markers. Now let's pick one up to see the marker design. Okay, it has a pretty regular cylindrical shape. I love the fact that they have a large cap that shows the color, so between all the other markers in the set you can tell at a glance what color it is. Oh, and I just found out that the box has an interesting feature. You can fold the flaps like this, so it's super handy to grab the markers while you're drawing. At this point, let's see the two most important things, activation and how the color flows. The activation of these simp tap markers is different from other acrylic markers. You don't have to press the tip to get the color down, but you have to press the button behind. As you can see, after pressing 2 or 3 times the color is already flowing to the tip. Wow, honestly I'm impressed with how quickly the color is flowing down. And now let's see how it looks on paper. Wow, you can immediately start painting after the activation, that's crazy fast honestly. The next thing I want to make is a palette with all the colors sorted out, because on the back of the box there is already a table with the colors, but I trust more the rendering they have on the paper. This way I also activate all the markers and try them out. ARRTX told me via email to be careful for the first activation of the markers because there could be some problems with the flow of the ink due to the pressure change during the shipping. But honestly, after having activated all of them, I did not see any problems. Only 2 or 3 of them took a little longer because the color went down slower, but after shaking them, the color went down, so I managed to activate them all. So I can say that the activation test is passed brilliantly. The next mandatory test is blending. I chose a yellow, an orange and a red. Let's see how these markers perform. I have already activated them, so I'm shaking them a little bit just to make sure, but I don't have to press behind anymore. Honestly, I'm quite impressed with how well the color flows. It's very vibrant and opaque. The yellow and the orange have quite a similar tone, so the blending looks fine. And the red is a bit darker, and so the contrast is more visible for sure. Now I'm trying to work a little bit on the common edges of the colors where they blend, but it's clear that I cannot have a result like with the alcohol-based markers I am used to. By the way, it is amazing how fast the colors dry. This was the thing I most feared about acrylics. I honestly don't think that blending is the strong point of acrylic markers in general. I think that on the contrary, their quality is the sharp difference between one color and the other side by side. Blending is possible for sure, however, I personally think of using them without too much blending. Now I want to try another technique for blending that I have seen other artists use. It consists of dabbing the area where the colors overlap with your finger, and I must say that it works decently, but it is not in my opinion the best way to blend. Okay guys, enough tests, now let's draw something. The first thing I decided to draw is Totoro. As I said before at the beginning of the video, this is the first time ever that I color with the acrylics, and so I decided to start with something simple as a kind of warm-up to get familiar with this new tool and understand a bit how to use it best. For this reason, Totoro seemed like the right choice to me. The Ghibli style in cel shading doesn't require blending, and simple shapes that don't require too much line control are the best choice to start. Also, lately I've been wanting to make a sticker and a keychain with Totoro, so this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Going back to the markers, the main thing that I wanted to test and understand with this design is how many layers of color are needed to get a consistent color. In this case, I don't want brush strokes to show, I want the color to be spread evenly across the different areas. And as you can see from the video, 2 or 3 passes of color is enough to have an even distribution. Some colors are more opaque than others, of course, but in any case the opacity of these acrylics in general is really impressive. About the control, I have to say that I love the brush tip of these markers. I am used, as I said, to alcohol-based markers, and therefore I'm used to a lot of control over the line. This is my first time ever using acrylic markers, but this tip really reminds me a lot of the feeling of the alcohol-based markers, so it doesn't feel hard to control. The brush tip allows you to vary the thickness of the line based on the pressure applied, so if you are light enough you can make fine lines and details. The only problem I have encountered is that the colors are so opaque that even after one pass I can't see the sketch underneath, and I'm not used to that. And this is the final result, guys. Considering that I have zero experience with this tool, I'm pretty happy with it. Totoro is cool but also very simple. Now I want to level up a little bit. Let's try a portrait. Somewhere on the internet I found this beautiful portrait of an Asian lady, and so this will be the reference for my drawing. If you follow my channel, you know that I am anything but a portrait artist. I have never done a portrait in an approximately realistic style. The only and few portraits I have done were in manga or comic style. So this portrait is a first for me, but hey, new tools, new artistic styles. As I wanted a colored background in this case, I decided to color it in the beginning. I thought it would be easier than coloring it in the end, as I usually do. That's because with these markers it's very easy to color over another layer of color, and obviously the figure of the face has to be on the top of the background. For the coloring I took a bit of risk, honestly. I love pop art style portraits with very bright colors, and especially when there is a neon-like effect. And so I tried to do something in that direction. The reference has natural colors though, so I had to exaggerate the shadows and the highlights a bit. I used yellow as a base and then gradually darker colors like red, dark pink and purple for the shaded areas. The most important thing I realized about acrylics while working on this portrait is to trust the process. Many times I thought I had made a mistake or ruined the drawing by adding a layer of color, but it's a matter of placing shadows strategically and then working over and over on the colors until the result is satisfying. It requires patience for sure, but one of the greatest strengths of these markers is the ease with which mistakes can be corrected. The color layers really well and dries quickly, making it possible to go over it again after a short time. I also love the effect on the air obtained by tilting the marker a lot, like I'm doing right now, and pressing lightly. The brush strokes this way blend a bit, creating a very natural luminous effect. Towards the end of the drawing I realized that some areas had a slightly strange lighting, and so I decided to improve it a little to give a better sense of the volume. In all honesty, this drawing was difficult for me because I was out of my comfort zone. However, in the end I was really excited. The result was so satisfying to me, and I'm looking forward to doing some more portraits of this kind. I think I will work a lot on this style in the future. This new tool opens up a lot of new possibilities for me artistically, and I am thrilled. The colors are so powerful, vibrant. I'm in love, guys. I'm in love. And now, finally, let's have a look at the final result. Again, guys, I'm so happy about how this turned out. I would like to hear your opinion in the comments, and also, if you are more experienced than I am with acrylics, feel free to leave some suggestions in the comments. After this portrait, I was very thrilled, and so I decided to do a third and last drawing. My goal in this video is to explore with you the potential of this tool, and so it makes perfectly sense to do 3 different drawings in 3 different styles. For this last drawing I decided to do something that is more congenial to me, a CyberPop Girl. I would like to do something similar to these other drawings I've done before, but with less detail, since I am not as good at coloring as I am at inking. And that's the sketch I've prepared for my character. But before I start coloring it, I would like to just take a moment to ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because this is a free gesture for you, but for me it's a huge help in continuing producing content like this in the future. Thank you. Okay, now let's go back to the drawing. To be honest, I really appreciate how the sketch turned out, and I was a little afraid of spoiling it by coloring. I decided to spread the color and only as a last step add line art to define each contour. I didn't really think about a color scheme precisely, so I decided on the fly which ones to use according to what inspired me the most. Like for the previous sketch, I decided to do the background first and then the figure. I think that's the most comfortable approach in general. I chose a bright purple-ish pink for the background because I want the colors to be very bright in this design. And again, I would like to point out that even in this case, 2 layers of color were enough to have a homogeneous background. As you can see, I then started to color the darker shaded areas of the face. I'm not really interested in blending here, I like there to be a fairly clear separation between the different shades. This design is definitely more complicated than the previous one due to the much larger size. One problem I found out is that it's true that the set of 48 markers is more than enough to color many things, the choice of colors is well thought out and there are different shades for the main colors. However, I realized that sometimes I wanted a specific color and not having it caused me some problems. I would like a set of 100 markers honestly. The fact is that for small areas you can get one color by mixing others, but on larger areas it is unthinkable to resort to blending. Markers provide great control, but it's not like having a palette where you can blend different colors together until you get the desired color. But to be fair, I think it is also a skill issue. You can do great things even with a limited set of colors if you are good at using them and you know the theory. Here again, I realized that compared to other media, acrylics take longer before the result becomes beautiful to the eye, or at least decent, acceptable. There is a big stage where the drawing looks ugly and the only thing to do again is to trust the process. As I said before, I am used to using alcohol-based markers and in that case the line art is visible right from the beginning of the coloring, so every shape is already well defined. In this case, however, the process is literally the reverse. The line art is the last thing to be done and so everything looks undefined until the very last. However, as I progressed, I felt I was getting closer to a satisfying result. The more I colored, the more I felt I understood acrylics a little bit better. This project in general was quite stressful because it is something totally new to me, but at the same time it gave me a lot of satisfaction, for real. I threw myself into a new challenge and came out happy, satisfied with what I had managed to do. I didn't know how to render metal parts like the neck for example, or how to render the smoke, but I threw myself into it and something decent came out. That's what captures me about art. It requires commitment and sacrifice, but it gives incredible satisfaction. It is absurd to think that from a bit of acrylic paint in a marker, you can create characters and words that are only yours and nobody else's. This is the true power of art that continues to excite me, and this product reminded me of that once again. I felt like a kid with a new toy, honestly. I couldn't wait to get home from work and continue working on the drawings. By the way, if you are interested in purchasing these markers, I leave the Amazon link in the description. Until the 21st of June, you can also take advantage of a code provided by ARRTX for a 10% discount, which I leave in the description as well. I would like to point out that I do not get paid by ARRTX in any way, and I do not earn anything if you buy via my link under my video, because I don't have commissions. I don't want to force anyone to buy, I simply show you how I used the markers and give you my honest opinion about it. It is then up to you to choose whether you are interested or not. In fact, I would like to emphasize that ARRTX has given me complete freedom both on the artistic side and on opinions about the product, and I really appreciate it. Okay, now comes the magic moment, the line art. Thank you, Pikachu!
Let's go!
Okay, this is undoubtedly the moment that gave me the most satisfaction. By outlining the contours of the figure in black, everything comes to life. Especially the face and the eyes, in particular, it's amazing how the black makes everything stand out so much. I know that many artists don't use black lines when coloring in order to have a more realistic style, but I'm not able to do this honestly, and I also love the contrast created by the black actually, even if it makes everything a bit more cartoony. In fact, as I finished this drawing, I just thought that I particularly like this style and I would like to do a series of CyberPop style girls in the future, exactly as I did for the Cyber Girls inked in black and white. It would be really fun. Another thing I would like to explore with acrylic markers in future is customization. With acrylics you can draw on many surfaces, not just paper, and I would really like to try to color on a skateboard and maybe even the PlayStation. Why not? Imagine how cool it would be to do an illustration like this on a console. And as I was signing the drawing, I realized that I had forgotten to pass the white gel pen to accentuate the highlights and cables, so now I'm doing that. And now, after 3 drawings and quite a bit of considerations, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you very much for being with me so far, and let me know your opinions in the comments. I'm really curious to know what you think about the drawings and the markers. See you next time, guys.
Goodbye!